In a previous video, you have learned already how to solve inequalities. In this video, we will get a little review from what we have covered in the past, but also we will incorporate a few other things that we've talked about since the last video. So, as a review, example 1, we have 2x minus 3 is greater than 8. With inequalities, you solve the same way as with an equation. The only difference is when I multiply or divide by a negative, I need to switch the inequality. So everything we've learned up to this point with solving equations will also apply for solving inequalities. So when you solve, remember you're doing reverse order of operations. So we see in this problem subtraction, we see minus 3, and we see 2 times x, which is multiplication. When I solve, I go in reverse. So I take care of the subtraction first, and I do that by adding, which is the opposite of subtraction. So I add 3 to both sides, which gives me 2x on the left and then 11 on the right. And then I can solve the rest of the way by getting rid of the 2. This says 2 times x. So to get rid of the 2, I move it over by dividing. So I divide both sides by 2. I now have x is greater than 11 over 2. So this here would be my solution. I'm going to walk you through a couple more examples. Example 2, we have negative 3x plus 4 is less than 10. Now again, to solve, we're doing reverse order of operations. So we see addition, the plus 4, and then this negative 3 is being multiplied by x. So it's not subtraction, it's being multiplied. So I do the addition first, and I move that over by doing the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. So I subtract 4, and I have negative 3x on the left, and then 6 on the right. Now this is negative 3 times x. To move it over, I need to do the opposite, which is divide. So I divide both sides by negative 3. On the left, these will cancel. I have x remaining. On the right side, 6 divided by a negative 3 is going to be negative 2. Now be careful because here we are dividing by a negative number, which means I need to switch the inequality from a less than to a greater than. So my solution is x is greater than negative 2. Example 3. We have 3 times 4 minus 2x plus 4 is less than or equal to 4. So to solve, I need to distribute first, so I can get 3 times 4 and 3 times negative 2x. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times negative 2x is negative 6x. And then from here, I can combine the 12 with the plus 4 to get 16. So I have 16 minus 6x is less than or equal to 4. And then from here, I can solve by doing reverse order of operations. And it may be helpful to you if you switch this around. So I get negative 6x on the left and then a plus 16 on the right. It's not necessary, but it might be helpful to you as you think through the solving process. Alright, so from here, I want to do reverse order of operations. I see a plus 16, which is addition. Then negative 6 is being multiplied by x. So that's multiplication. So I begin with the addition first, and move that over by doing the opposite, which is subtracting. So I subtract 16 from both sides. I have negative 6x on the left, and then 4 minus 16 is going to be negative 12 on the right. And then from here, this is negative 6 being multiplied by x. So to move it over, I do the opposite, which is divide. So I divide both sides by negative 6. When I do that, I have x on the left, and then on the right, negative 12 divided by negative 6 would be a positive 2. The only thing is, be careful because I'm dividing by a negative number, which means I need to switch this inequality from a less than to a greater than. So my solution is x is greater than or equal to 2. Example 4. I have 4/3 x minus 1 is less than or equal to 7. So for this one, to solve, I do reverse order of operations. I see subtraction, and I see 4/3 being multiplied by x, so multiplication. To begin, I can move the subtraction over by doing the inverse operation, which is addition. So I add 1 to both sides. That cancels over here. I'm left with 4/3 x on the left, and 7 plus 1 is 8 on the right. Now to get rid of the 4/3, which is being multiplied, I do the opposite, which is divide. So I divide by 4/3, which is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So that's the same thing as multiplying by 3/4. So I have x on the left, and then on the right, 8 times 3/4. I can think of this as 8/1. And then the 8 and 4 on the top and bottom can both be divided by 4 to get 2 and 1. So on the top, I have 2 times 3, which is 6. And on the bottom, I have 1 times 1, which is 1. So my solution is x is less than or equal to 6. One more example. Example 5. Here we have 2 times x minus 3 is greater than 4x plus 1. To begin, I want to distribute, so 2 times x and 2 times negative 3 to get 2x minus 6. And then from here, we want to bring the x's to the same side. I can either bring the 2x to the right side or the 4x to the left side. Let's bring the 4x to the left side, and I do that by subtracting. So I subtract 4x from both sides. Over here, that will give me 0. So I'm left with, on the right side, just the 1. And on the left side, we have 2x minus 4x, which is negative 2x. And then the minus 6 as well. So now from here, since x is on the same side, we can solve by doing reverse order of operations. So I see subtraction of the 6, and I see negative 2 being multiplied by x. So move the negative 6 over first, and I do that by adding 6. We now have negative 2x greater than 1 plus 6, which is 7. And then from here, we have negative 2 times x. So to move that over, I do the inverse, which is division. So divide both sides by negative 2. I now have x on the left side, negative 7 over 2 on the right side. And then be careful because I'm dividing by a negative number, which means I need to switch the inequality from a greater than to a less than. So my solution is x is less than negative 7 over 2. And if I wanted to, I could write that as a mixed number. That'd be negative 3 and 1/2. So either is acceptable, both are the same thing. And that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.